There we go. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Pinole Planning Commission meeting on March 23rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. at the Pinole City Council Chambers at 2131 Pear Street, and also via Zoom. The public may submit comments in person by attending this meeting in person in the City Council Chambers and filling out a yellow public comment card and submitting it to the city staff. This meeting is also being broadcasted on Zoom on the webinar ID 865-0537-5301. The public may also join via phone at 669-900-6833 or 253-215-8782 or 346-248-7799. Speakers will be asked to provide their name and city of residence, although providing this is not required for participation. Each speaker will be afforded up to 5 minutes to speak. Speakers will be muted until their opportunity to provide public comment. When the chair opens the comment period for the item you wish to speak upon, please use the raise hand feature or press star 9 if connecting via telephone, which will alert city staff that you have a comment to provide. Then press star 6 to unmute. To comment with your video enabled, please let city staff know you would like to have your camera turned on once you're called to speak. Written comments can also be submitted to planning staff before the meeting via email at dhanham@pinole.gov. Please include your full name, city of residence, and the agenda item you're commenting on. Other ways to watch this meeting are live on channel 26, and they're retelecasted the following week. The Pinole TV channel 26 schedule is available on the city's website, and this meeting is also live streamed on the city's website at www.pinole.gov and remain archived on the site for 5 years. If none of these options are available for you or you need assistance with a public comment, please contact Planning Manager David Hannum at 510-724-8912 or dhanham@pinole.gov. The Americans with Disabilities Act. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, if you need special assistance to participate in a city meeting or need a copy of the agenda or the agenda packet in an appropriate alternative format, please contact the city clerk's office at 510-724-8928. Notification at least 48 hours prior to the meeting time when services are needed will assist city staff in ensuring that reasonable arrangements can be made to provide accessibility to the meeting or service. Please note that all staff reports are available for inspection at the city's website, and you may also contact the city clerk directly via email at hbell@pinole.gov. Persons wishing to speak on an item on the agenda may do so when the chair calls for comments in favor or in opposition to an item under consideration. After all those persons wishing to speak have done so, the hearing will be closed and the matter will be discussed amongst the commission prior to rendering a decision. Any person may appeal an action of the Planning Commission or the Planning Manager by filing an appeal with the City Clerk in writing within 10 days of such action. Following a public hearing, the City Council may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission may act to confirm, modify, or reverse the action of the Planning Manager. The cost to appeal a decision is $500 and a minimum $2,500 deposit fee. Please note, if you challenge a decision of the commission regarding a project in court, you'll be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in writing delivered to the city at Pinole at or prior to the public hearing. And the Ralph M. Brown Act. In enacting this chapter, the legislature finds and declares that the public commissions, boards, and councils and other public agencies in this state exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business. It is the intent of the law that their actions be taken openly and that their deliberations be conducted openly. The people of the state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. The people in delegating authority do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so they may retain control over the instruments that they have created. And with that, we will call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. All those willing and able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And And thank you. And now for our land acknowledgement. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. And with that, Planning Manager Hannum, could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Uch,
Present.
Commissioner Huey,
Present.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian,
Present.
Commissioner Bender,
Present.
Commissioner Martinez,
Here.
Vice Chair Menes.
Here, noting for the record my typical ex parte communication about this meeting and other topics to email list.
And Chair Sandoval.
Present.
Let the record show that all members are present and we can take action on the items on tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Planning Manager Hannum. And with that, we will move on to our next item, citizens to be heard. The public may address the Planning Commission on items that are within its jurisdiction and not otherwise listed on the agenda. Planning Commissioners may discuss the matter brought before their attention, but by state law, the Ralph M. Brown Act, action must be deferred to a future meeting. Time allowed is 5 minutes each. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
I see one person online, but no hands raised at the moment.
Okay, if you'd like to speak, please, raise your hand. If not, we will move on to our next item.
Okay, still no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is our meeting minutes, and we have the Planning Commission meeting minutes for February 23rd, 2026. Does anyone in the commission have any questions or comments or concerns on the minutes? All right, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for February 23rd, 2026.
I'll second.
Thank you. Commissioner Bender, if Planning Manager Hannum, if we could please have a roll call.
Commissioner Martinez,
Abstain.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Uch,
Yes.
Vice Chair Menes,
Yes.
Chair Sandoval.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0-1.
Our next item is our public hearings. We do not have any public hearings scheduled tonight. That takes us to our next item on our agenda, which would be our new business. And we have one item, the general plan conformity for deposition of property located at 2101 Pear Street. Planning Manager Hannum, do you have a presentation for the commission tonight?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight before you, we have a staff report and resolution for you for the selling of the post office property at 2101 Pear Street. As part of the government code requires that prior to any disposition of public property, the Planning Commission reviews the proposal and determines whether the proposed deposition conforms with the city adopted general plan. That report then goes to the City Council for final approval with the formal selling of the property. We'll kind of give you some background. The City of Pinole proposes to dispose of publicly owned property located at 2131 Pear Street, identified as assessor parcel number APN 401-163-003. The property consists of approximately 0.5 acres, or 21,780 square feet, and is currently developed with the post office. The current post office is approximately about 4,700 square feet. It's 4636, right around there. The property proposed deposition would allow the property to be sold to the business entity that runs the post office. The property will retain the post office at this time. There will be no change to the use of the property. And as stated before, that the government code section 6502 requires that prior to the disposition that a general plan conformity report is reviewed and either approved or denied by the commission. To kind of just give you a location of the property, the site is located at 2101 Pear Street. The general plan designation is Old Town Subarea, with the site located within the San Pablo Avenue, the 3-corridor specific plan, and is within the Old Town subarea of the San Pablo corridor. The specific plan designation is PQI, which is public, quasi-public, and institutional. So the surrounding land uses and general plan designations to the north is OTSA, Old Town Subarea, with the 3-corridor specific plan, Old Town Subarea, and with a public quasi public institutional. To the northeast the general plan designation of Old Town Subarea. These corridors, 3 corridor specific plan, Old Town Subarea with a CMU, commercial mixed use. To the south, the general plan designation to the OTSA is Old Town Subarea, 3 corridor specific plan, and the zoning is MDR, medium density residential. To the east of the general plan is again the Old Town. As you can tell, the property is within the Old Town subarea of the general plan and the 3 corridor specific plan, and is also PQI, public, quasi, public, institutional. And to the west is the exact same. With the west is the general plan designation of Old Town subarea with the 3 corridor specific plan, town subarea, and the public, quasi, public, and institutional zone district. Just to kind of give some of a review and analysis, the proposed action is limited to the disposition of the publicly owned property and does not grant development entitlements or land use approvals. Any future development would be subject to the applicable zoning regulations, development standards, and all required discretionary approvals. Because the general plan designation for the site remains unchanged and the proposed disposition would not prevent development of the property in accordance with the general plan, the proposed disposition is consistent with the long-term planning framework established by the City of Pinole General Plan. As part of the general plan consistency, the government code requires the Planning Commission to determine whether the proposed disposition of public property conforms with the adopted general plan. The proposed disposition does not by itself constitute approval of any specific development project. Any future development of the site would be required to comply with the general plan, applicable zoning regulations, and all required permits and environmental review. The property has a general plan land use designation of OTSA, which is Old Town Subarea, and the specific plan designation of PQI, which is public, quasi, public, and institutional, which is similar to what we have on all of our schools, all of our city hall, our public properties that are listed within the city are usually all public or quasi-public or institutional. The post office is designated for that use. The proposed disposition would not preclude development of the property in a manner that is consistent with the City of Pinole's general plan. Staff has listed goals and policies that will show the disposition is consistent with the general plan. I picked out 3 goals, 2 goals and some policies that would show that this is that this would be consistent. I use policies general plan LU.7. With policies LU 7.1 and policy LU 7.2. If you want me to read those, I can. I also use policies LU 7.6 as that. And then out of the community services element, the CS goal CS1 and the policy CS 1.1. In terms of environmental review, the proposed action consists solely of a determination of general plan conformity pursuant to the Government Code Section 65402 and does not approve any specific development project. Therefore, this action is not a project under the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to the CEQA Guidelines 15378B5, as it represents an organizational or administrative activity of government that will not result in a direct or indirect physical change in the environment. Alternatively, if the Planning Commission determines the action is a project under CEQA, the determination of conformity is exempt from the environmental review pursuant to the CEQA guidelines section 15061B3. As it can be seen, well, certainly that there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant effect on the environment. The Planning Commission must make the following finding to approve the requested action. The proposed disposition of the property located at 2101 Pear Street, APN 401-163003, conforms with the adopted City of Pinole General Plan pursuant to the California Government Code. And the evidence is basically the general plan designation for the subject property allows for public, quasi-public, and institutional uses. Also, the general plan goals and policies listed above show that this action is consistent with the City of Pinole's general plan. The proposed disposition does not change the land use designation, zoning, or development standards applicable to the property and does not preclude future development consistent with the general plan. So with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution finding that the proposed disposition of public property located at 2101 Pear Street conforms with the City of Pinole General Plan pursuant to California Code Section 65402. That ends my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Planning Manager Manum. Planning Manager Hannum for for the brief presentation on this item, and we will go to questions from the commission to staff, starting with Commissioner Martinez. Do you have any questions?
The only question I had is just, do we know what the square footage is of the property?
Yes, the square foot of the actual square footage of the property is approximately 0.5 acres, which is 23,000 square feet. The approximate size of the building is 4,636 square feet.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Yes, Vice Chair Menace.
Yes, I just wanted to draw Commissioner Martinez's attention to the page 24 of the packet, Exhibit A1. I think that has the surveyed square footage of the parcel under discussion, 18,633.7 plus or minus square feet. So I think that's the relevant value.
Thank you, Vice Chair Menace. Going to Commissioner Lamb-Julian, do you have any questions?
Clarifying question. So at this time, it will retain being a post office. If it changes, would that have to come back to council if they decide to sell it or?
Well, yes, what you're saying. It would have to. Well, this action has to go in front of the council to begin with. If it was not to be the post office, and another use would have to be right now. Currently, it would have to be in the public, quasi-public, or institutional type zone. It have to be consistent with that. That would have to come back to the Planning Commission as a development review project. So you would see that on that note. But if they were to sell it for, let's just say, example, a commercial use, then they'd have to do a general plan amendment and a rezone, and that would definitely have to come before it would go to the City Council for approval. So yeah, so there's more than enough reviews that will go around if they decide to move the post office and use that property to sell. They would have to do a lot of work in terms of entitlements to, because most likely they would probably demo the building. I mean, that's not really, the building's pretty old, and so they would probably have to come with a general plan amendment, a rezone, a comprehensive design review, plus an environmental review of that project. So yeah, so as of now, that is not happening. It's maintaining the post office, and from our understanding, it's really the business owner of the post office who's buying the property to maintain it. They've leased it for all these years, and so now they kind of want to purchase the property. So, so I think that's, and so we're going through all this actions to be able to sell it.
Okay, I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Huey, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Vice Chair Menace.
I have a few questions. First, with regards to the fundamental chunk of this, or if I'm understanding this properly, the city's proposing to turn an ongoing revenue stream into a one-time revenue source by selling the property that it's currently leasing to the post office.
Yes.
To the post office. And is that because the post office is insisting on it, or because the city wants to go down this path?
I don't know. That's an action that's been handled in the administrator's office, so I'm not sure what the reasoning behind it is, or what the or what generated it at this point. So I that's a higher pay grade question.
All right. Secondly, on page 18 of the agenda packet, under the review and analysis segment of the staff report, it says, because the general plan designation for the site remains unchanged and the proposed disposition would not prevent development of the property in accordance with the general plan. So how far out do we need to be able to see the intents and goals of the purchaser of the property to be able to fit within the long-term planning framework of the general plan? 1 year, 5 years, a decade?
There really isn't a time frame. An extended time frame. It's based just on the action that's happening today. And that the reason why that is because the general plan can change tomorrow. It's a liquid document. In that regards, meaning depending if there's an item that came for us before the general plan, that we could hear that item tomorrow. So there's really you can only take the action at the time, or you can only review the action at the time of the project. So, I mean, you can look to say it's been PQI, the zoning's been that for the last 10 years, since the general plan got adopted, and even probably before that, it was a public use. So it's been a public use already for at least 30 years. So, and I don't think at this point, I mean, of course, this is an assumption I'm making, not a fact, that the post office will remain there. It's just they wanted to own the property. So there really isn't, the Planning Commission can't make that decision based on what we think the general plan is going to be in 5, 10, 15 years, 15 years. It has to be on what the general plan is today at the time of this project.
Right. I think I may not have been clear with my question. I wasn't asking whether the general plan was going to change. I was asking for how long we need to worry about the intent of the purchaser within the general plan as it exists now.
Again, I'm not, it's kind of like, I'll just say like the AP and 80. We don't know what the intent of the developer is, but we're kind of at their whim at this regard because they're buying the property. We're not quite sure when if and when are they going to do anything with the property. So that's why it's kind of difficult to figure out what their intended use for the next 1 to 5, 10 years is. I mean, hopefully I'm answering that question.
Okay, so then moving on to page 19, going through the suggested general plan findings. How does goal CS1 and policy CS1.1 follow from selling this parcel?
Well, it's just in terms of it's a public site. The post office is a public site, and it's a facility that does serve the public. And so basically we're trying to strive to provide the safe and attractive and efficiently designed facilities. So the post office has been that way for a long time. And so that's why I included those two goals and policies, because it is a public facility. It is designed to meet what the public needs in terms of what it's used for. And it does provide, and it is in a relatively safe place where it's at right now.
Because if I'm understanding what we're considering tonight, we're not conditioning this action, we're not creating qualifiers or modifiers or covenants, we're just saying, does this conform with the general plan, yes or no?
Right.
And we're also not saying this is going to continue being the post office in the future or not, because we don't know that. So I guess this is getting more into comment. I'll reserve further comments on that point for later.
Okay.
And let's see, any other questions? I guess one more question following up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Can the commission suggest covenants be attached to the disposition of this property when the council considers it?
It's my understanding that there are no covenants that you are approving the conformity of the sale of the property.
Right, because some of the general plan elements that we're discussing seem like they would be prospective in nature. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's probably more a topic for discussion rather than questions. So I'll end my questions here for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Minnis. Commissioner Bender, any questions?
Yes, I just have a question actually about the resolution itself on page 21 and 24. In the first whereas paragraph and then in the third whereas paragraph, it talks about, it uses the term in the second line of each acquisition. Is that just sort of standard text that was pulled out, given that this actually is about deposition of the property?
Yes, it should be dispositions, not
Or
acquisitions.
disposition, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, disposition.
And I'll just make note that at the title, the second line of the title says EO of.
Got cut off.
No.
Yeah, okay.
No further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Bender. Commissioner Uch.
No questions.
All of my questions have been answered, and I have no further questions at this time. We will now move on to comments. Are there any commissioners that would like to make a comment on this item?
First, Mr. Chair, before you might want to open this up to the public first.
Yes.
Before.
Sorry, my apologies. Are there any public comments on this item?
I see one person online, but no hands raised at the moment.
All right. A few seconds. No.
Okay, no hands raised.
We'll go back to the commission for comments. Are there any? I saw Commissioner Martinez. You had a comment on this item.
Thank you, Chair. I spent quite a bit of time, just as life would have it, in that post office. And it is in much needed state of repairs. For those of you that may have not been there lately, so the fact that we own yet another property that is not being maintained to what I feel the standard that we should be delivering, I think it seems to me like we're pretty lucky that somebody's coming forward to try to acquire this property from us, because we're not doing a very good job. If you've seen the leaks in the ceiling up there, yeah. And so when, we're still staring at that over $40 million to repair our roads and all these other things that we need to do, the tens of millions we need for our parks, anything we can do to close the gap to get us funding so that we can really address the bigger issue, which is the lack of maintenance in our city for 30 plus years. I think this is probably, in my opinion, a good time to offload a property. As they've said, places like the post office, especially the federal government, when they sign contracts, they're never like 1 or 2 year contracts. Those are usually 5-10 year projects, because the government doesn't buy on an annual cycle like we buy a house or a car, right? So I've never seen what type of contract our post office has in terms of the lease of that building, but I'm pretty confident they're not going to be able to turn around and make it something else anytime soon, because that's, when you have a contract with the government, it just doesn't work that way. So with that said, my opinion is, based upon the maintenance on that building or lack thereof, we don't have money to be putting into these buildings. I really, really wish we did, because architecturally I like the design of the building, but I've got to also be honest and say we just don't have the money to maintain that building properly. So that would kind of be where my head is at in terms of selling this particular piece of our property here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Lamb-Julian?
No comment at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Huey?
No comment, thank you.
Vice Chair Menace?
I guess to start with, I have a follow-up question to Commissioner Martinez's comment. Whose responsibility is it to maintain the post office building?
I think right now it's the city.
Okay.
We own the building.
I wasn't sure, because some leases have maintenance be the responsibility of the leaseholder and others have the maintenance be the responsibility of the property holder, but probably reasonable to default to assuming it's the city. With regards to other comments, I think I'm going to return back to my earlier point about covenants, and in particular, the safe, attractive, and efficiently designed facilities for public and quasi-public organizations. Is there a way we could say we approve this so long as it continues to meet these conditions? Because it sounds like if we're referencing the goal of safe, attractive, efficiently designed facility for public and quasi-public organizations, that if the facility then becomes not any of those things, unsafe, unofficially designed for a private organization, that it would not meet what we're describing here?
Well, any type of new project would have to come before the commission. So any type of, so what that goal is saying is just that this particular facility meets that particular goal and that particular, at this time. So anything in the future, even if the post office wanted to do designs or they wanted to change the design of the building, they would have to come before the city for either building permits or any type of permitting of depending on what it is that what they're doing to improve. So that's why when I used those two comments from the community services, it was based just on this action above, not anything in the future.
Right, because it seems like we're evaluating not the existing property itself, but the disposition of that property, the sale, basically.
Right.
We're saying, does the city of Pinole selling this property, 2101, pair to another entity, the U.S. Postal Office, meet certain land use element goals? And I guess the point I want clarification on is, are we saying the city does not have sufficient funds to make sure that the infrastructure is safe and that therefore the sale would generate funds to offset that?
I mean, I don't know the particulars of the sale. I don't know what's in the sales agreement. I don't know what's in the PSA. I don't know. That's not part of this. I mean, the PSA is going to have to get approved by the city council. And so we are just looking at the land use portion of that. We're not looking at what's in the PSA, what we've agreed to, what they have agreed to as part of the purchase of the property. So that we don't. So it's a very skinny scope that we have for this for this particular project.
Okay, so if we have that narrow a scope, at this time, I don't feel as though goal CS1 and policy CS1.1 fit with the action of sale or disposition. I think that policy LU 7.6 certainly does, because it's clearly looking at the exchange or sale of city-owned land. And I guess goal LU 7 generally. But I don't think that right now the community service element segments of the general plan that we're referencing actually apply here.
Okay.
Vice Chair Menace, did you have any further comments on that? Or did you want to make a motion on that?
I guess I could make an initial motion to amend the suggested resolution to strike in section 3 goal CS.1 and policy CS1.1.
Okay, do we have a second?
I can second that.
Planning Manager Hannum, could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Utsch,
No.
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Menes,
Yes.
Chair Sandoval.
No.
Motion carries 5-2.
Okay. And did you have any other comments or on this item?
Since we're not able to attach covenants or anything other than the general plan, no, I'm fine with the segments of the land use element that are here.
Okay. Commissioner Bender, do you have any comments?
I find myself completely in agreement with Commissioner Martinez, and that this is an ideal sale to offload the property. It did undergo some remodeling just a few years ago. As I remember, they changed the lighting, blah, 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 maybe dealt with asbestos, but it is a tired facility. It's actually over 60 years old now. It's in sort of need of remodeling, but let that be the task of the new property owner, if it comes to pass, and not the taxpayer. Sadly, it probably won't end up being in the tax rolls because it will be federal property. So, that's all.
Commissioner Uch?
No comments.
I do not have any comments either at this time. I would like to make a motion to approve Planning Commission Resolution 26-4, a resolution of the City of Pinole Planning Commission that the proposed deposition property located at 2101 Pear Street, APN 401-163-003 conforms to the city's general plan with the 3 typographical errors removed on the title of the resolution. The first, whereas, changing acquisition to deposition, and likewise on the third, whereas, and also with goal CS.1 and policy CS 1.1 removed.
I'll second that motion.
Planning Manager Hannum, could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Huey,
Yes.
Commissioner Uch,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Menes,
Yes.
Chair Sandoval.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. And with that, that concludes our new business, and that will move on to our city planners and commissioners report. Planning Manager Hannum, do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yeah, I got a couple things to report. The first thing is regarding the Planners Commissioner Academy. I know those who went, I think they attended some good sessions. And I think that overall, I think the conference was pretty good. They had an interesting way of doing the sessions this year, which was new. Where before they just had sessions, but then they had today at this last conference, they had what I call them like super sessions, where they had like 4 or 5 sessions that were only like 20 minutes long, just one right after the other. Which I think was okay, but I think they should have made it just a little bit longer. They were only like 20 minutes. They might have been maybe 30 minutes. I think would have lasted a little better because you would have been able to get questions and the transition from one subject area to the next subject area. And I think it's because they probably didn't have full sessions, and most sessions are an hour and a half, or an hour and 15, an hour and 20. So this is a good way to cover a lot of topics in a shorter period of time. So I thought it was a pretty good idea. Just needed to expand on that a little bit. Other than that, we are working on some lot line adjustments and some. We'll have a conditional use permit for you at your next meeting, and we will have the. And I know it's been a long time coming, and I apologize for that. Regarding the way police evaluate alcohol sales and how they do that. So I met with them a couple of times. I got what kind of like their, I'll just call it for better lack of term, a matrix or whatever, how they review these types of programs. And so I'll have that for you at your next meeting. I think that's all we have. We might have an item regarding some housing information, some housing items might be coming before you as well. So we're working on those, and then we're just continuing to. And from the planning department, we're still continuing to maintain our housing element and do keep up with our policies and keep implementing that. Working with our developer friends to keep their developments going and moving forward. And that's about it. So unless you have any questions, Justin, you have anything before okay. So, unless you have any questions or anything.
Thank you, Planning Manager Hannum, for the report. Are there any questions? Yes, Vice Chair Menes.
So the objective development design standards, when do you expect that's going to come before the commission as a whole?
I am hoping probably this, either the second meeting in April, I'm hoping that's going to be a fast track, or the first meeting in May. I've sent off the development standards to the city attorney and to the community development director for their reviews, as well as the planning commissioners. The ad hoc committee has their final draft. So I'm hoping for the last meeting of April, but probably more like the first meeting in May.
Did you have any follow-up to that, or?
No, that was my only question to Plan Manager Hannum.
Thank you. And Commissioner Lamb-Julian?
Thank you, Chair. Any news about Kmart?
They haven't submitted their demo. They have submitted. They've submitted their demo permit, so we're reviewing that right now. We don't know anything more on the actually of them moving forward on the entitlement, but we do know that they are in essence moving forward with demoing the building. So, that I think they submitted last week for that, or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I think it was a couple weeks ago they submitted for that. So we're in the process of reviewing that and getting them back comments, and so hopefully we'll have the building down here in the next month or so.
How about Safeway?
Safeway, it's a wonderful project. They are. We haven't heard anything yet. We are looking to meet with them again to see where we are with the project. But as of now, we haven't heard. We don't have an update on the project with them.
Any other questions? All right. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, I do see a hand raised online. It's from the caller with phone number ending in 5748. So caller, when you're ready, please press *6 to unmute.
And as a reminder, you will have 5 minutes to speak. You can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Caller, are you there?
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, this is Anthony Lospring, longtime resident of Pinole, over 50 years. I just wanted to ask if there was any update on what may or may not have been happening since our last discussion with issues around Caltrans with the underpass, overpass lighting that's been out for over 6 months on the Pinole Valley Road I-80 ingress, regress, underpass lighting signage at the top that says like San Francisco, Sacramento, Hercules, as well as the surrounding Caltrans lighting, and as well as the potholes on either side, plus one, if not two, of the drains on the west side of the off-ramp and on-ramp drains were plugged up since the last storm. They cleaned the ones on the opposite side, but the city or Caltrans didn't clean those, so it's just like a big mud puddle there. And is there any more update on what the Contra Costa County Flood Control is going to do to help us reach the breach over there on the Pinole Creek behind Sprouts? Because we met with Councilwoman Martinez-Rubin, and she thought it was it needed to be updated, and she took pictures of it. And the breach there Saturday with the Pinole Creek, Friends of Pinole Creek and Watershed agreed that the city needs to put some pressure on the Contra Costa Water District or Flood Control District to come out and dredge the creek in that area, but more so to at the same time to shore up that breach with a permanent concrete embutment wall or some type of dam over there, because it's now 6 to 8 feet away from the sidewalk on the northwest side where we were meeting and cleaning up the creek Saturday, and the chairs along the obstructing half of the sidewalk, about 6 or 7 red tables are still out there at Hot Dave's Chicken, and I thought we were going to do something about that, or the city was, because that's a code violation, or they have to apply for a special code. And is there anything that Mr. Hannum knows about lighting down by the new Ohlone Old Bayfront dog park parking, not dog park, but the Bayfront Park parking lot at the foot of 100 Tenant for security, public health, and safety, where that couple got severely beaten and a lady lost her life last year there. They said they were going to put up more lighting in that area, as well as more security cams in that parking lot. And it's too bad our Mayor Pro Tem and our city councilmen weren't at the last meeting physically to discuss that. One, I guess they both decided to go and spend their travel and expense budget in Washington, D.C. again for another meeting. But some of these things are getting old, and we need to get them addressed, as well as the street lighting issue all throughout the city. And same thing along that, what's the issue with the Sarah Drive, the corner of Pinole Valley Road, Sarah Drive, and Granada Court, with those two telephone poles. We had AT&T or Pacific Bell out there for a few
You have
weeks.
30 seconds remaining.
But they seem to work on either side of that corner and not to fix those poles that are blocking the ADA crosswalk. There's still a red cone there, and the two poles are band together with duct tape. And then as far as the library ingress, egress, they got half a dozen signs from the city and half a dozen signs from Creary Construction out there, but not one sign that the city could have collaborated
Please wrap up
with
your
the
comment.
county library or vice versa to put up there to let them know that the
Thank you for your comment. Unfortunately, your time is up. There were a couple of things that I kind of wanted to touch on as regard for the issues with Caltrans and the lighting on the underpasses. I would probably suggest reaching out to the city to see if there's a maintenance agreement with Caltrans regarding those specific lights. It may be a city issue if the city has a maintenance agreement, or it might actually be under Caltrans, but I would suggest reaching out to the appropriate city department for that. And for potholes, specifically on the on-ramps, I would actually suggest submitting a customer service request to Caltrans. They'll be able to take a look at that and be able to get to it. Unfortunately, there is a backlog, especially when there's some bad weather and some rain. And you can also follow up with your state legislator's office with Caltrans if there's any follow-up needed on that. As for the flood control district, that is a county agency, so I would suggest reaching out to the county supervisor's office. As for the Dave's Hot Chicken, I think that is a question that Planning Manager Hannum can give an update on. For the Bayfront Park, that seems like that might be a city issue as well, so I would suggest following up with Public Works or Parks and Rec and the City Council. And I believe there was also the telephone pole issue. I'm not too sure who to follow up on that one. And
Public Works.
Public Works, as well for the library as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the Dave's Hot Chicken, code enforcement and I are working on that. So we hopefully will have a resolution here in the next couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, thank you for the update on that. Do we have any other public comments?
No other public comments now.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments on the commission? Yep. Sounds good. Any items to report from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Rich.
I guess this is a good opportunity to talk about the Planners Academy. What I thought as my first time going to the Planners Academy, I thought it was a very interesting experience to go down to Southern California, a region of California I haven't been to in a while, just as I remember, as hot and dry as usual. But, I enjoyed going outside and getting, enjoying the environment down there. Definitely seeing especially being older now and after school and being in this commission, seeing how, in a sense, planning shapes our environment. You can see the priorities of what, the city has for what they would like. In terms of the academy itself, it was really informative learning about the state laws that were passed, especially on, sorry, I'm bad with remembering the specifics, but especially the transit bills of having the ability for new higher density developments to be built, especially near transit corridors, was definitely a big, you could say, source of discussions down there that, overall, I really found it a really good opportunity to learn and connect with other commissioners from other regions of California. So as a first-time commissioner, at least for me, going down there, I had a good time, I would say, and it was very informative.
Sounds good. Any other commissioners would like to report out? All right. I would also like to report that I also did attend the Planning Commissioners Academy down in Anaheim with Commissioner Utch. I think it was a very interesting diversity of topics and ideas that were discussed at the academy. I would say it's really interesting to hear other commissioners' perspectives on whether it's state legislation, things like density bonus or transit-oriented development. To hear kind of different perspectives from across the state, from more other suburban parts, but also rural parts, and also some urban parts. You kind of get these, as someone who works in the legislature, kind of, working on these laws, it's kind of interesting hearing a different side and a different perspective of that at these conferences. And I also wanted to thank city staff for all your help in making sure we got down there and we were all accommodated and everything. Everything went smoothly. So thank you to Dave and Justin and city staff that helped plan that. I have nothing else to report. Do we have any public comment on this?
No hands raised right now.
All right, and that will move on to our communications. And does anyone on the commission have any communications? Yes, Vice Chair Menace.
Yes, as usual, I'm going to go ahead and report out the same communications I reported out to my ex parte email list so people can have parity there. So, I'm going to pull that up here. So tomorrow on from 10 to 11 a.m., there's going to be the senior food distribution at the senior center. If you're over 55 and live in Pinole, they've got access to a broader array of groceries on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, and we're approaching the fourth one rapidly. Also tomorrow on the 24th, there's going to be a special city council meeting at 6 p.m. covering a commercial cannabis workshop and also review of a voter survey on various potential tax measures. On Wednesday, the 25th, there's going to be a Community Service Commission meeting at 5 p.m. where they're going to be discussing Community Service Day and various other community events and outreach. On this Saturday, the 28th, there's going to be a rally from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Fernandez Park Gazebo, followed by a protest from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the intersection of Tennant and San Pablo. And that is the total of my communications.
Thank you, Vice Chair Menace. And with that, our next meeting, is there any public comment on this item before we move on?
There is a hand raised right now. Same caller, ending in 5748. So when you're ready, please press star 6 to unmute.
Please go ahead, and as a reminder, the time is 5 minutes.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, this is Anthony Osbrink again. I wanted to make a comment. I was on hold earlier in the evening, but there was some technical problems and I couldn't get the star 9 to get my hand raised in time. So that being said, it might be a good idea for the Planning Commission to consider following the protocols of the City Council to have a public comment, citizen to be heard session at the beginning of the meeting as well as one at the close of the meeting for those people that couldn't get on in time or had technical problems or had delays in their in traffic or what have you, to be able to call in at the end of the meeting. And with that being said, I just wanted to share that or question whether or not the new city interim manager has announced, or anybody for that matter, that he's going to hold office hours open to the public like the past interim manager, Police Chief Melissa, had done on a Wednesday or Thursday afternoons, pretty much weekly from 3 to 4 p.m. I haven't heard any communications to that regard, as well as with regard or better collaboration of communication between the county librarian and the city of Pinole with regard to the library closure. And that's a 1-year closure. And when I asked the librarian in Hercules, what's up with that? I just wanted to get her input. I said, oh, we're going to have a nice library like yours. She says, oh, not really. All they're going to do is basically repair and fix the roof and you know, the HVAC and maybe some other cosmetic things. So could Dave Henham give us an idea? What are they going to do for 10 to 12 months to close down that facility for a whole year? And are we getting a credit so we don't have to pay the county library the $250,000 to $300,000 a year contracted fee that we agreed upon several years ago while they're being closed? And then finally, with regard to the ingress and egress, they have big 8-10-foot fences all around that whole property there, including 100% of that parking lot. And they have half a dozen signs that the contractor put up, and somebody should drive by there and look at it. And like I did, and my tennis friends are complaining, but the way they've done it, it's like the whole back end has been closed off with the tennis courts, like having a 4-foot access trail next to the security building. But there's no major sign by the driveway that you can't find somewhere else to park. So all the people that want to play tennis or recreate there and maybe go to that creek park adjoining the tennis courts, they can't do that anymore. Or they don't think they can do that. And they have half a dozen big signs and banners that Parks and Recs lady Andrea Dwyer had drawn up at several $100s a piece all over the front of that fence for different recreational events throughout the summer and so on. But one sign to let the public know that that library is in fact closed, but the tennis courts are open, and to offer them an alternative place to park their cars, whether it's at the high school or at the church or somewhere down around the block. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. We will definitely make note of your suggestion, and I would suggest following up with the city manager's office regarding the office hours and Parks and Rec and Public Works regarding the library. And with that, yes, Vice Chair Menace.
What would the process be if we wanted to amend the structure of our agenda to permit, basically under the same rules as the council has, he could speak either at first or second citizens to be heard?
Would that go through ourselves, or is that something that the council would have to?
Well, I'd have to look at sections 2.40 and see what dictates that. So if we have oversight, the council will probably have the ultimate approval of the agenda, I think. But it might fall under just the rules of the Planning Commission. So I'll have to check 2.40 to see what's needed to do that. I can bring that back to our next meeting.
And then with regards to the sort of layout around the library project, since most of the parcel is county land, if I think I understand that correctly, is there anything city can say about, like how it's laid out, the sorts of warning signs and fences and so on that are set up, or is that something that Mr. Vosberg should direct to the county?
Well, we'll talk to community services. We'll talk to Andrea to see because I know they've been working closely with the county and the library and all that. So I'll reach out to community services and see see where they're at, and then we'll see. Then if that means we got to go to the county, we'll go talk to the county. But we'll start with community services first.
And then finally, do we know whether the intent is to have all the parking in the formerly library parking lot blocked off, most of it, or is that just one of those things you're going to be addressing as part of your line of questioning?
I think it's just one of those things. I mean, usually when there's a construction site, they block off the whole property. So, and that's all part of it. So I'll have to follow up to see if there's any portion of the parking lot that can be used for parking for the tennis courts or that. So I'll have to find that out.
Thank you, Vice Chair Menace. And with that, our next meeting will be on April 13th at 7 p.m. And with that, we will be adjourned. Thank you.